seconds, it should automatically, you like that word? Automatically be live streamed on YouTube. So it's now saying the meeting is being live streamed. Hopefully you are all seeing that. All right, let's go ahead and get us started here. This is our monthly, I need to mute myself on YouTube. Just had a learning experience, not a mistake. A learning experience, that's what I call them. My learning experience was get ready to mute the video if you're doing a simulcast in a second monitor, because otherwise the sound starts right away. So at any rate, I want to say good morning and welcome to all of you. This is our new series. I'm doing this on a monthly basis, and every Friday, the first 4 Fridays of the month, we'll do a different topic. And the first Fridays will always be for those of you who are VIP job seekers. So I want to welcome those of you who are on the call here today. And this call is really dedicated to giving you inspiration, a sense of community, having you a place that I call it office hours. It's almost like if we were at the workplace, my door would be open today and I'd have my cup of coffee and you'd come and knock and say, hey, Brenda, I got a question. And I'd be like, come on in, I'll help to answer your question for you. Or you may want to tell me about your week or what was going on with you. So in the call, the way that the flow will work out here today is we'll start with some introductions, and I'm going to ask maybe 2 or 3 of you, if you're new to the call, put the word new in chat right now. And I'm going to call on a few of you, and I will ask you to introduce yourself. I'm going to have you tell us your targeted job title, your targeted geographic area, and then I'll ask you to drop your introduction into chat. Now, while we're doing this, I'm going to have everyone else start to drop your intro into chat right now. And if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening this to on the podcast, you'll have to check out the show notes to see the introduction text that we use. But what I want you to do is drop into the Zoom chat your targeted job title, your targeted geographic area, and your LinkedIn URL. Make sure that you include the full HTTPS, because then it will be blue and clickable, and we can actually invite you to connect while we're in the session here today. Okay. So go ahead, drop those introductions in. If you are new to the call and you'd like to introduce yourself, type the word new, N-E-W, into chat, and I'll call on maybe 1 or 2 of you as we get started. And I'm also going to have some all-stars that will be helping me with facilitating our questions and answers today. So if you are one of those people who I deem to be an all-star, you know who you are. Go ahead and raise your hand right now. Use that raise hand inside Zoom, the little emoticon thingy, whatever it's called. Use your raise hand just like Joey did, because then I will make you a co-host for the meeting. You can help me in the background here. That also helps me to identify who the co-hosts or who the all-stars are on the meeting. And there's some familiar faces returning. I don't like to say old faces, because we are all wonderful, beautiful people, aren't we? We're not old. We're experience rich, if anything. But there are some familiar faces that we've seen before, and there are some new faces that are a part of the group as well. So, for example, Annette Richmond is new to our all-star lineup today, and she's being voluntold she's going to be an all-star. I think I actually invited her and told her about this. But here's what we're going to do. For those of you who are all-stars, I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourself. And then we're going to go in this order, and I'm only going to say it once, so keep track of the order here. We're going to go Joey, you'll be going first, Joey Himmelfarb, followed by Mindy Stern, followed by Kenneth Lang, followed by Annette Richmond, followed by Linda, I'm blanking, Brubaker. I just had a mom brain moment where I was like, what's Linda's last name? Linda Brubaker. And then I think that is everyone. After Linda, you will turn the floor back to me, and I'll do my introduction. And then we're going to start to see some of the new folks, and we'll go into Q&A, and I'll give everybody instructions along the way. All right, Joey, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Brenda. Good morning, all. So I'm Joey Himmelfarb. I am retired from sales for about 25, 30 years. I was in many different industries. And because I know sales is so was important to my career, I also believe it's important to yours. I wrote a book about selling yourself, because looking for work is selling yourself. And so I'm here on these calls to support you and to make sure that you're positive and upbeat, as opposed to negative and downtrodden. So when I hear you going down that beaten path, I will chime in. Otherwise, I'll just keep quiet and listen in. Okay. Anyway, happy to be here. And I'm going to turn it over to Mindy.
Thanks, Joey. Appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to see you all here today. Friday mornings are my favorite. Love being here with the community. We are here to help you. We're all here to support you and to answer any questions that you may have. Use this opportunity. It's a golden opportunity. I also host a monthly Zoom event for the accelerated job seekers. And our next session is on September 6th, when Al Smith, who I don't see here today, but Al Smith sometimes joins us. Al Smith is called the Hired Guy. He's going to talk to you about, can you actually be found by a recruiter? And he's going to go into Boolean searches and all the great things that you need to know about how recruiters look for you. And if you can't be found, then you're invisible. So join us on September 6th. I'm going to put the link to register in the chat. So feel free to register for that. Hope to see you all then. And absolutely always reach out to us for any questions you may have. Thanks, Brenda, for this opportunity. It's amazing.
Welcome, 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 everyone. Kenneth Lang here. I'm a Lee Hecht Harrison career coach. I work on resumes for people in transition. What I'm also doing right now is doing my weekly LinkedIn Lives. I do them on Tuesdays at 1 o'clock. First, a shout out also to Sue Griffey, who's not on this call, who recently got added to the John Asperian list, Friday list, and I'm actually wearing my Friday shirt right now in support of that. The next event that I'm going to be doing is going to be on August 15th. Next week, I'm taking some downtime off. And if you haven't heard from Jack Kelly before, he's a recruiter. He's got great insights. We're going to be having a conversation with him. And the week after that, August 22nd, will be George Pace talking about AI. So I'll post the event links in the chat. And I'm looking forward to hearing what Annette has to say. Annette Richmond, I feel like we're best buds now that we've seen each other twice in a few weeks. So Kenneth Lang, I have my LinkedIn URL in the chat. Have a great day, everyone, and best of luck.
I know. I'm excited to be here, and I was, of course, excited to meet you and Brenda just a couple of weeks ago. And so, meeting in real life is really, kind of the best way to kind of deepen those relationships and friendships. So I am a personal brand strategist. I help people turn uninspiring LinkedIn profiles and also boring resumes into marketing tools. My goal on LinkedIn that I picked up from a bunch of smart people is to help you be a three-dimensional human rather than a cardboard cutout. I second that on Jack Kelly. He is a wealth of information. And since you mentioned Sue, I will say that I do a weekly LinkedIn live show, and Sue is my guest in 2 weeks, not next week because I'm actually speaking at a conference, but after that, Sue is going to be a guest on my show, and I'm excited for that. And so I'm passing the baton to Linda.
Hello, everyone. I'm having some technical issues today, so I'm hoping you can hear me. I'm Linda Brubaker. I'm a job search coach too. And what I do is that I help people identify and highlight their transferable skills to find their next forever jobs. I'm one of those people who thinks that you need to hire your next employer as much as they hire you. And I give you the skills and the tools to help you do that. I'm actually just started putting out myself as my own business. So I'm excited about that. And you're going to see me joining the lineup of some people doing some of those LinkedIn Lives starting probably in September. At least that's my goal. Back to you, Brenda.
All right. Don't you just love it when everything comes together nicely, right? I love having the all-stars on with me because it allows me a little bit of time to kind of get things going on in the background and get my bearings, if you will, because I'm kind of going from meeting to meeting in the morning here. So, all right, next thing I want to do is I just want to go through quickly and say hi and good morning to each of you. I'm just going to run through the names just to see who's on the call. This is the one chance I get to see all of you. So let me just run through it. And thank you to the all-stars for those great introductions. Welcome to Annette, who's joining us for the first time. Good morning to the rest of you, to Al, Alina, Amanda, Andrew, Angela, Burnley, Carrie, CB, Kioma, Christine, D, Dana, Daniel, David, B, David M, Dean, Debbie, Esther, Julia, my intern who's helping with the background, by the way. Julia, if you haven't already done so, drop the YouTube play link for today, as well as the playlist for all the other good stuff in there. Thank you. Gloria, good morning to Joanna, Julia, Karen, Katie, Laura O, Laura R, Mary C, Mary D, Nancy, nice to see you again. Neil, Nicole, Noel, Rob, Sandra, Santina, nice to see you again. Hey, Scott B, Scott V, Shelly, Sophie, Tara, Taya, Timothy, Wendy, Peter, and Esmeralda. I am delighted to see all of you here today. If you're joining us, it's probably because you're in career transition. Maybe you're unemployed, maybe you're underemployed, maybe you've been laid off, let go, restructured, all those fancy corporate words, right? That they come up with that make them feel better about what they're doing to you, but you don't feel so good about it because it means you're not working right now, right? And I created these calls and I call these VIP job seeker office hours because you are a very important person. I want you to know that you're important regardless if you're working or not. And when you are in career transition, you go through a roller coaster of emotions. I went through them too. I've been laid off twice in my career. The last time I said never again. I decided to go on a path for self-employment and stay here. And I'm actually glad everything happened to me in the way that it did, because I never would have had the courage to leave my corporate job. And I wouldn't be here today for all of you. And I wouldn't be making all these wonderful connections in running the business the way I am. So I'm grateful for all of that. But I know that if you're in career transition, you have those days where you're feeling great. You're relieved of the stresses that you had at work, right? There's also the days where you're maybe not feeling so great and you're feeling like, am I ever going to get back to work? Right. And also, what happened to the team? Remember that? Like one day you were part of a team, you were doing all the stuff, you were all pitching in, helping out, maybe working long hours, working evenings, weekends, sacrificing your family, doing all the things to help the company. And then all of a sudden that awkward conversation happens when somebody taps you on the shoulder and says, come into the conference room, or you get called into a Zoom call, or HR, your manager calls you on a Friday afternoon, always a Friday afternoon, right? So they can ruin your weekend. Why not do it on a Monday morning and then give me pay for the entire week, right? But it's always on a Friday that awkward thing happens and then your life changes in an instant. And the team that you were once a part of, I always thought it was really interesting. These people were like my best friends at work, some of these, right? And some people reached out right away, even though they were told, don't talk to her, right? Don't talk, she's the enemy now because she's not here, right? So weird. And some of them reached out anyways, because we have cell phone numbers and we're friends, and other people didn't. And I was always a little bit surprised, sometimes by both the people that did reach out and the people that didn't. But I want you to know that you are all part of a team. And if you look around the screen right now, we've got over 50 people who are part of this amazing community that we have created. I want to encourage you to connect with each other. And you can do so in this call by clicking on those blue hyperlinks that you see in the show notes if you're in the Zoom with us right now. Alternatively, you can download the chat by going to the bottom where it says to everyone. There's 3 little dots. And if you click on those 3 little dots, you'll see an option that will say save chat. I'll remind you about this at the end of the call because the chat's going to be active today. But at the end of the call, you can download it and then you can copy and paste the links in a new window if you want to connect with folks. Okay. All right. I see a few new people. I see Peter, you put the word new inside chat. So Peter, if you could unmute yourself. And what I'm going to ask you to tell us is, first, how did you hear about us? Second, tell us your targeted job title. And then third, tell us your targeted geographic area. All right, Peter, how are you doing?
Good morning. I honestly, I don't remember how I got connected. I think it might have been Kenneth Lang or somebody else that was on a call yesterday and mentioned, the person mentioned this call. So my targeted title is Senior Lead Business Analyst or IT Business Relationship Manager, Principal Business Analyst. Targeted area, Metro Atlanta. And I am an active networker and would welcome the opportunity to be connected with anyone here on the call. And if I can be of service to anyone in your search, please let me know. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, Peter. And Peter, by any chance, do you know Rachel Simon? Because when you said Atlanta, my eyes lit up. I'm like, oh, Rachel's in Atlanta.
I don't believe so.
Okay, she is also a LinkedIn coach trainer, and she's got a very active network. I'm going to ask, I know Kenneth is good friends with Rachel as well. Kenneth, could you grab Rachel's link and put it into chat? And not just for Peter, for anyone on the call, if you want to connect with Rachel, just mention that Brenda gave you a shout out in the call and sent you her way. But part of the reason I mentioned that, Peter, is when I do these introductions, I like to ask, what is your targeted job title? What is your targeted geographic area? because there may be somebody on the call who knows of a business. You said business analyst. Did I get that right? There may be somebody
Right.
on the call who's aware of a business analyst opening, and maybe it's virtual or remote. There may be other people on the call that are in the Atlanta area. And, I think it's important to connect with people who are job seekers, but also working professionals and people who are in your targeted geographic area, because they may come across a job posting and they might be reminded that you were on the call here today. And when you said Atlanta, Rachel Simon, in my head was what I was thinking there. So we're delighted
Great.
that you found us, Peter. I know you may not be happy to be here, but we're happy that you're here and we're happy that you found us.
And my LinkedIn address is in the lower corner of my picture, and it's also in the chat. And
Wonderful.
Be happy to meet anyone for a virtual coffee or tea at any point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. All right. Let's move the spotlight around a little bit. That wasn't too bad, right? So if there's anyone else who's new on the call, I know you might be freaking out a little bit because I was the same way. I'm an introverted heart and I will always be an introverted heart. I used to have a fear of public speaking as a part of being an introverted heart, but then I joined Toastmasters. Shout out to my fellow Toastmasters here. And I got over my fear of public speaking and I learned how to embrace it and actually use that nervous energy and make it into positive energy. One thing you need to do though is practice. So any opportunity you have where you're in a room, a call, an event, and someone says, does anyone have any questions? Or we're looking for a volunteer to, do their introduction. Like get in the habit of putting your hand up. In this case, I'm saying put the word new in chat, NEW, and I'll call on you. And I remember doing this myself and people would say, do we have any volunteers? And I would put my hand up and I'm like, what are you doing? Like to myself, I'm like, I don't want to speak. That's going to freak me out. But the more you do it, the less nervous you'll get about it. So I just want to throw that out there. You never know who you're going to meet in these calls. Peter might get a job opportunity because he just introduced himself. You never know where things might lead. So don't be shy when I ask for volunteers to say new and we'll call you on the chat. All right, let me see if that rustled up anybody. My introduction. I'm going to go through chat to see, did anybody else put new? Not one other person. And I can't believe all 50 of you are returning guests in there. I cannot believe that. All right, Sophie, we got you to introduce yourself. All right, Sophie, could you please unmute yourself? Tell us how you heard about this call. Tell us your targeted job title, your targeted geographic area. We'll give you a second, Sophie, to see if you can unmute yourself. Give you one more minute. I'm trying to find you in chat. Okay, try again. Go ahead.
Yes, sorry, a little bit technical difficult. I'm looking for business data analyst position, and the job is in New York City metropolitan area.
Wonderful. And how did you hear about us, Sophie?
I think this is something I always want to do, but early this year I was with Jeffrey, one of the investment banking. And located in Jersey City, New Jersey. So I was not able to attend it. So now this is the perfect time.
Good. Well, we're glad that you found us. And thank you so much. You said New York City. So I know there are others from New York who are on the call. I'm going to encourage others who are on the call, if you can just drop into chat. I'm from New York too. And that way, maybe you can do some networking with Sophie online or through LinkedIn. So thank you so much, Sophie, for being brave and raising your hand. That wasn't that bad at all, was it?
Not at all.
Well, good.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. All right. We are going to move us along here. So let me just take us out and I'll pull it into the big view again here. What we're going to do now is we're going to start to do some questions and we're going to take your questions, I should say, and then we're going to ask you to share success stories. So if you have a question, I want you to go into the chat if you're inside Zoom. And I'm going to use my standard question as an example. I'm going to type the word question in all caps and then type out the question after it. And the reason I do that is in case we don't get to you, other people in chat may be able to answer your question for you. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. If you have a question, you may have a question regarding your job search. You might have a question about getting started because you've just been laid off, let go, etc. By the way, we've got a really great checklist called Do This Now. I'm going to ask Julia to drop that into chat. It's a free download. It's things that you should do right away. If you're already in career transition, still look at it. But if you've recently been laid off, it's really designed for you. So go ahead and download that free checklist. So it could be, Question, can you look at my LinkedIn profile? And we can do like a quick LinkedIn profile review. We've got a lot of LinkedIn experts on the call here who can help you out with that. It could be a question regarding interviewing, about making connections with recruiters, whatever your questions are. Type in the word question and then put that into chat. It does help me out also if you could click on under the reactions and click on raise hand, like this little yellow hand thing. Where's it at? Over here, because then it helps me to identify where you are in the video. Alternatively, if you have a success story, I want you to go into chat and just type in the word success in all caps, just like I've done. A success might be, hey, Brenda, I got a job. See ya. I'm not going to be on these calls anymore, which is always the goal. We don't want to see you on these calls, but we're here for you until you're back to work. So if you have a success story to share, put the word success in all caps in chat. We will call on you and I'll ask you to tell your success story. Could be you got a job. Could be you've got an interview. Could be recruiters are starting to notice me on LinkedIn. Thank you to your help, Brenda and All Stars. Could be just got my resume done. I'm happy with it finally. Whatever you deem to be a success on the steps towards finding a job, we want to hear about that. Okay. And then there are a few of us that, few of you rather, that I've said, hey, come on the Friday call and let's do that on the call. I'll tell you guys right now, my mind is like a blank slate on who those people were for this week. So if that is you, raise your hand and I will call on you. I think there's at least one or two of you. I said, come on the Friday call and we'll do this in a group session. So don't be shy. If you have a question, if you have a success story, or if you're one of the people that I said, come on the call and we'll address it in the call on Friday, raise your hand and I will call on you. All right, I'm going to go to the gallery view just to see if there are any hands that I'm not seeing right now. I'm not seeing anybody right now. Okay, so question, I see one question from Mary C. Mary, are you able to unmute yourself and are we able to pull up your LinkedIn profile up on screen? Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine. I can put the link in the chat.
Okay, if you could, that would be helpful because then I can drive us right to that link. And Mary has a question. She says she'd like some feedback on her profile. She's not getting much reach out from recruiters directly on LinkedIn. Thank you for that link, Mary. I'm going to pull that up in the screen here, and then we're going to ask the All-Stars to weigh in on what we see, and we're going to give Mary some feedback on her LinkedIn profile. First of all, Mary, can you remind us what is your targeted job title and your targeted geographic area?
I'm looking for either a CFO role or VP finance role in the metropolitan New York area.
Okay, perfect. So first thing, and then I'm going to ask the All-Stars, raise your hand if you have anything you'd like to add to Mary's profile review to give her some suggestions. Mary, I will always ask, first of all, what is your targeted job title? Because I want to make sure that your job title that you're looking for appears in your headline field. I'm going to highlight the headline field on screen here as I'm talking about this. By default, the headline will be job title at company. You can modify it. You just go into the white area at the top, click on the blue or the gray pencil icon to edit that. But this is a very important field for search results. So if you want recruiters to find you for, you said VP finance was one of the roles and CFO was another one. Is that right, Mary?
Right. So the issue that I'm having, I have senior finance executive because I'm also applying to positions with the title controller, because if it's a huge corporation, I know that I am not the CFO.
Yeah.
I may be a VP finance, but I might be the controller. So I have that in there, but I know with search results, there's no such title as senior finance executive. So do I list out VP finance controller, put the kitchen sink in there? What do I do?
So I would say at least one of the targeted job titles should appear in the headline field. You do have one, you have CFO in there. You certainly could put more than one in there, but the challenge you're facing is it could be one of many job titles depending on the size of the organization. Recruiters know that too. So when recruiters are looking for candidates, they're keeping in mind they could be searching for CFO or VP finance or other things like that. Senior finance executives tells me kind of like the level that you're looking, the category or the role that you're looking at. So it kind of tells me what you're looking for. I might say add in one more. So think about all the jobs that you're applying for. Is it more a VP of finance? Is it a controller? Whatever is the more frequent of those job titles, I would probably add that in addition to your title. One other thing I'm going to give you as a piece of feedback, Mary, is on your headshot photo. My recommendation on headshot photo is that it be taken within the past 5 years. So 5 years ago was 2018. So if your photo was taken before 2018, you want to get a new headshot photo. And I don't know when yours was taken, but part of the reason I'm bringing that up is photo technology changes over time, and we as human beings, we age, we look different. And I want to make sure you look like the best current version of you on your profile. Sometimes when I see photos and the resolution's not quite so crisp, it's because the photo technology has changed. And what this does, for your benefit, Mary, and for everyone else, just to be aware of this, is we want to make sure that when people look at your LinkedIn profile in its entirety, as an experience-rich candidate, you want to be putting the best face forward and the best profile possible. You don't want to appear that you're not keeping up with technology. Little clues like, using an AOL email or a Hotmail, they don't make those anymore. Like having a contemporary email address is one way to show that you're remaining progressive and you're keeping up with technology. Another is getting a headshot photo that's updated. If I want to hire you to be a senior finance executive, I want to make sure that you're being representative with what that role looks like. So I hope you don't mind. The photo was just looking a little bit grainy to me, which made me think maybe it was a little bit of an older photo. And I'm sharing that with you, Mary, just to share it with everyone. And I know when you're in career transition, you might be on a budget. You might not be able to pay for a headshot photographer, but we've all got a camera. It's on our phone and we've got a good quality. These cameras are getting really good. So you can prop it up on a bookshelf or have a family member take it. I would do possibly an updated photo there. I'm going to see if the other all-stars have any advice for you, and then we'll come back to you, Mary. All right, Joey, and then Kenneth. What do you have to say?
Thanks, Brenda. So, Mary, two things. I wanted to draw your attention to the comments that Joan had put in, putting the open to work banner around your picture. Certainly wouldn't hurt to have it on there. If it doesn't work for a week, then take it off. But you want to at least maybe draw attention to some recruiters out there. And secondly, I noticed that you went to Pace University. I would definitely lean in on your school and or the people in your network and reach out to people that you know who you haven't spoken to in a while. I'm sure somebody in your position with your experience has a Rolodex that I know you know that is. And there's probably people you haven't spoken to in 25, 30 years. Reach out, connect with them, just shoot the breeze, see where those conversations lead. As we started this call with Brenda, and she talked about getting Peter hooked up with Rachel. Peter doesn't know Rachel from Adam, but Rachel knows a ton of people. Who knows what's going to come of that connection? Same thing with you. There are connections out there that you have that have been languishing. I would say resurrect them. You've got the time now to do it. Make a list, make a couple calls a day. Calls, not texts, not emails, calls. Call the people that you know and reconnect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joey. All right, Kenneth, what do you have to say?
My big mantra now is to use LinkedIn as a search engine. For example, you should go to the top. This was a recruiter's trick that Abby Koha taught me. If you type I'm hiring, we're hiring in the bar, and then you select it by people, and then you select it by industry, you'll find people with that keyword. And also if you do financial services, do a search for events. They're here. Search for information, search for companies. I think there's a mindset that this is a job board. Well, it's basically a Google for a job search. It's, just use it to that advantage. And like I said, everyone here knows the basics of LinkedIn, I hope, but now it's about how do you get to the next step?
Thank you.
Thank you, Kenneth. Mindy, what do you have to add?
Just one more thing, Mary, and I will echo what Brenda said. It's all about building trust on LinkedIn. And if your picture doesn't look like who you are when you actually answer that call, you start to break down the trust a little bit. But what I wanted to mention to you is you have the ability to put in 50 skills in your skills section. And right now you only have 32. So I would use every opportunity to use every one of those 50 skills. That's what LinkedIn is looking for. And I'm sure in the finance world, there are tons of things that you should be adding here for your skills. Lean on the job postings to see the types of skills that they're looking for, and then add them, anything that's true and honest, add them to your profile and make sure you stay at 50 because that's what LinkedIn's allowing, and you might as well use every one of them. You never know which recruiter is going to be looking for one particular skill.
Thank you.
All right, Mary, I'm going to give you one final comment and then we're going to move on here. And you said, I'm going to go back to your question. I think you said I'm not being found by recruiters. I want you to think about this process of, yeah, you certainly want to be found by recruiters, and some of these techniques, adding in more skills, modifying your headline, things like that. They're going to help to bring more of the right people to your profile. The other part is you can reach out and search for recruiters. So hopefully you're already doing this, but if not, just go into the search bar at the top, type in finance recruiter. And then when you click on that finance recruiter, just click on enter, then click on people. And that will take you to a listing of everyone on LinkedIn who has the words finance recruiter in their profile. The next thing you want to do is maybe change the location to United States, because if you're in the US, you want to probably work with somebody who's in your country. And then after that, what I will do is I'll look for maybe second level connections, because that will bring me up a list of people who have the words finance recruiter on their profile, who I'm not yet connected to, and who are in the United States. So in addition to you being found by them, you can go out and find recruiters by doing that search. When you connect with them, don't just click on the connect button, visit their profile. If you think like what they're looking for is a good fit, then when you click on the connect button, add a note, just say, hi, Justin. I noticed that you work in finance recruiting. I'm also in the finance industry. Let's connect on LinkedIn. After Justin accepts, that's when you say, hey, I'm in the market for my next role as a VP of finance and CFO. What is your process for sourcing candidates? So get the conversation started that way. And you notice I'm going a little bit slower with the process, and a lot of you might be going, Brenda, why aren't you like just sending Justin your resume? Because I've been around the block a little bit, and I'm not a recruiter. I don't play one on TV or anything like that, but I've worked with a lot of people who are recruiters. And there are some that are very open, super connecting with everyone, love it when people email on their resumes. There's others that are like closed doors, like don't send me your resume unless I want it, or they're only looking for exclusive opportunities and they're really closed off. So I want to try to approach with the intent of making a connection and developing a professional relationship with the recruiter. So they keep me in mind when they hear of something, or when they talk to their recruiter friends, they drop my name along. So I want to try to build up my network with really amazing recruiters there. All right, Mary, how was that? Was that helpful for you?
Thank you, Brenda. Thanks to the All-Stars too.
You're welcome. Happy to help you. All right, David Mills had his hand up, and then I'm not sure if it timed out and the hand came down or what happened there. But David, how are you doing today? How can we help you?
I'm fine, Brenda. Actually, I was thinking of maybe just asking on Monday, but my question was, I am on my profile. I have my photo and the big, huge open to work, collared around it.
Mm-hmm.
And my question was, can I have the open to work without being so obvious?
You can. Would you be comfortable sharing your LinkedIn screen with us?
I guess I could, because you're only seeing the upper half.
Okay, I'm gonna make you a co-host, David. Could you log
I got my screen up, but I can't share it unless you want to.
You can do a share screen, and part of the reason, actually, I'll just do this from my perspective.
I can just type it in the chat.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my profile right now. And if you want to make yourself more visible to recruiters, indicating that you're open to work, but you don't want the open to work on your profile photo, this is what you do. At the top of your profile, you should see this open to work box. If it's filled out already, it'll be blue. If not, it'll be white, but click on that. And then if you go into this box at the very bottom, scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can indicate your visibility to be recruiters only. And you'll notice on my photo, I don't get the open to work badge. Or I can click on all LinkedIn members and I get the green open to work badge. Does that
also say recruiters only, you don't get the badge?
Correct.
Oh, cool. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. And what that means, and just for everyone's benefit, what this means is it says limited to people using LinkedIn Recruiter. So if you choose recruiters only, LinkedIn says, while we take steps to not show recruiters at your current company, we can't guarantee complete privacy. What this means is this. LinkedIn has a couple different versions. There's the free version, which most of us are using. It's the public site of LinkedIn. And then you can do paid versions. There's Job Seeker Premium, Business Premium, Sales Navigator, etc. There's also a whole other side of LinkedIn called LinkedIn Recruiter that people have to pay to get access to, and they can post jobs and they can source candidates, and there's a bunch of filters and things that they get. So people that are using the paid version of LinkedIn Recruiter, my understanding is there's like buckets when they search for candidates. And if you have put on your profile that you're open to work and you come up in a recruiter search, it goes into one bucket. It's these candidates have indicated that they're open to work. So that would flag to them that you're looking for opportunities, but it doesn't show the open to work badge on your profile. Okay. Now, if you choose all LinkedIn members, you get that green badge. You still go into the recruiter's bucket of open to work, but it also kind of like flags everyone because the green badge is on your profile photo. And we've had this conversation before, and I'll remind everybody, it's really personal preference on whether you feel comfortable with the open to work badge on your photo versus, you know, some people say, I feel like it's a green neon sign, desperate, like, you know, it's really up to you what you feel comfortable with. When I work with clients, sometimes I say, try it for a couple of weeks, see if it results in any new searches, things like that. If you don't like it, then you can always, you know, switch it back. So try it both ways, see what you're comfortable with. I was in a room of recruiters about a year ago, and there was 200 people in the room. And I said, hey, I'm working with job seekers all the time. Do you like the open to work green badge on the profile? Yes. Raise your hand. Yes, if you do. Half the hands went up. And I asked them why, because it helps me to identify people, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Put your hands down. Who of you do not like it? Raise your hand. Half the other hands when it was like split. And I said, why? And they said the same things you guys are thinking. Well, it makes me look like they've been out of the market for a while. Maybe they're not that marketable, or, you know, I just don't like it. It makes them look desperate. I'd rather, you know, use my filters and search. So really it's up to you. I wouldn't steer you one way or another. I've heard of people getting jobs by using it, and I've heard people getting jobs by not using it. Does that help you, David?
Yeah, it does. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. The floor is open for questions, for success stories. You can either use the raise hand function inside of Zoom by clicking on your reactions and click on raise hand, or go into chat if you could. Burnley, am I saying this correctly? Burnelli? I apologize.
Perfect.
Burnelli?
Yes.
Okay, Burnelli, you had a question. You said you'd like to get some feedback on your profile. Would you be so kind as to go into the chat and drop in your LinkedIn URL for me again?
Okay.
I'm going to try to load up your profile while we're doing this, but this will help me as well as others. And we're going to do a little bit of a review of your profile. Oh, I think I found you. Okay. Burnelli,
Okay.
how do you pronounce your last name?
Chauster.
Chauster. And do you often get people saying, did I pronounce your first name or your last name correctly? Do you get that?
Yes, no, normally I answer to anything that sounds similar.
That's good to know, but I also want you to have pride in the way that you pronounce your name. I'm going to give you a little bit of a bonus tip right now. If you have your phone with you with the LinkedIn app, I want you to look down at your phone right now. I want everyone to do this right now. We're going to look at the name pronunciation field. So I want you to open up the LinkedIn app on your phone. When you open up the LinkedIn app on your phone, click on your headshot photo, which will take you to your profile. Click on your headshot photo, and then you're going to click on view profile. So again, I'm walking you through how to add the name pronunciation. I'm just going to show you how right now. You can do this afterwards, but you're going to open up the LinkedIn mobile app, click on your headshot photo, click on view profile. And then in your top header card, you're going to see like in the white area, there's a gray pencil icon. Click on that. And then it will say edit intro. If you scroll down, it says your first name, last name. Right underneath your first and last name, it will say name pronunciation. Do you see that, Burnley?
Yes.
Burnelli?
Yes.
Is
yes,
it, you know, you got to help me. How do you say your first name?
Well, I'm used, it comes from an Spanish culture. So my name is Bernelli. But here, if you say me Bernelli, I understand.
But you prefer Burnelli.
Bernelli, yeah, is how I normally call.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a quick story too. Kenneth Lang, who is on the call, actually, everyone in the world calls him Ken Lang. But when I first met Kenneth Lang, I said, what do you prefer? And he said, either way is fine. And his Zoom said Kenneth Lang or whatever said. So I'm like, well, I'm going to call you Kenneth. And he said, okay. Now, everywhere we go and we meet people together, I say Kenneth, and they're like, why do you call him Kenneth? And I'm like, because in my mind, I cannot call him Ken because I asked and he said he didn't care, and it was burned into my mind. So when we are asking the question, how do you prefer us to say your name? Tell us how you prefer. It's perfectly fine. Burnelli is how I pronounce it. So with the name pronunciation, what you and others can do is you can click on that little add a voice recording, and it gives you 10 seconds to say something like, hi, this is Burnelli. Chostra. And however you pronounce it, I apologize, I don't know. But you could say the emphasis is on Nell. Like you give little verbal cues. If you listen to my name pronunciation, you're going to notice that I will say, hi, this is Brenda Meller. It's like Keller, but with an M. Now, I don't get mine mispronounced too much, Brunelli, but sometimes people say Mueller or Miller or things like that. So that's like my cue for them, like how to say my name correctly. I would highly recommend for you and for others on the call, if you have a tricky name to pronounce, if people are frequently saying, did I say that right? Use that because it helps to alleviate the pressure. I don't want to say your name incorrectly. And I'm, like, I know we want to say it correctly as well. All right. So let's give you some profile feedback. Can you please remind us what is your targeted job title and your targeted geographic area?
Yes, I'm looking for a job in the corporate finance area, like a senior financial planning analyst, for example, which is related to the activities to my experience. I am a corporate finance professional, but with an engineering background. So I am a mixture.
Okay.
I found it very well. And I'm in the Great Houston area.
Okay. So first thing you said, Houston area, I see on your profile, it says Katy, Texas. There's actually a way you can go into your top header card and go down to the city drop down. If you click on the little arrow next to the city, instead of saying Katy, Texas, it will say Greater Houston area.
Yeah, I have to change that.
And just so you're aware, that will actually broaden the number of search results that you come up in, because Katy, Texas right now is a pinpoint in the middle for the radius. When you make it Greater Houston, it actually broadens the search. And also, sometimes you might get people landing on your profile looking to recruit you for a finance position, and they see Katy, Texas, and they go, oh, that's too far. She's not going to want to drive. Now they've made that decision for you. Okay. If it says Greater Houston, they don't know the city that you're in inside the Greater Houston area. So they're not going to screen you out based on, possibly that city in there. So first thing, I'm going to go back to the headline and just remind you, it's really important to put one of your targeted job titles in here. I know you're trying to be broad by saying bilingual corporate finance professional, but I don't know what you're looking for. I want to see finance director or controller or VP or some specific job title. That's going to help you to come up in more searches by recruiters. And then you could still keep the rest of that information in there as well. All right, I'm going to ask our all-stars who else has advice to offer for Bernelli. Annette, we haven't heard from you. Annette, do you want to offer any advice for Bernelli? I know you're still here. I think you're still here. Are you able to unmute, Annette? Are you on?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to unmute because my brain is a little tired from all the networking calls I've been on today. So, yeah, I love that you mentioned the audio, which is so important, and it really helps people. It helps me if I go to somebody's profile and they have a name that's a little bit unusual, although I still have my name pronounced incorrectly all the time. But anyway. But one thing I want to mention for people who do have a name like mine, which is pretty common and easy to pronounce, is that you can use that audio to give a brief message like, hi, thanks for stopping by my profile, and say a little bit. I forget how many seconds it is. I think it's like 20.
10 seconds in total.
10 seconds, but you can still, that's what I use on mine. I know some people have recorded like music and, all kinds of things. So I would say that as far as my ad for that.
All right. Thank you, Annette. And I'm sorry for putting you on the spot. I just wanted to make sure I got you on because I'm like, I know I called you in for this.
No,
Friday.
I've been answering questions in the chat. So
awesome. Thank you so much for that. All right, Joey, your hand is raised. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so I wanted to dovetail what Brenda was saying earlier today about searching for people who are recruiting and hiring, and even Ken had mentioned it as well. Brunelli, you can use the search engine here to look for people that went to RPI. And again, go back to your network and people that you know who may know people that you don't know. And just reach out to these people and reconnect with the people you went to school with, or find people that you didn't go to school with, but who share the same, you're all alumni. So you all have something in common, and you may be able to strike up a conversation with somebody from out of the blue who could help you. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, thank you very much for the advice. I tried that, and I have contacted some people when LinkedIn showed me my connections. And up to now, no one has answered my connection invitation. But I'm registered at the alumni RPI alumni group. So well, I keep trying.
Good.
I keep doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bernelli, I'm curious. You said you're bilingual. What are the other languages that you speak?
Spanish.
Okay. I see it's in here. Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
The thing here in my case is that my experience is from another country. So mainly, even though I work with global companies that have representation in the United States and in Europe, but I was based on my original country, which is Venezuela. So it has been very hard to find the first opportunity here.
Can I give you a suggestion? And I don't know if Joey's like probably chomping at the bit for this right now. Are you, Joey? It's already like when I said, I asked you about your language background, and then you almost, it felt like you were apologizing for the experience that you have. I'm going to just give you a technique, which is when you hear yourself doing that, I want you to stop yourself and then reframe it. Instead of saying, well, it's actually from another country, I want you to say, the interesting thing is I'm actually bringing in this experience from another country. So now I'm bringing you global finance experience from my perspective of being in Venezuela. And I also, finance is finance, whether we're doing finance in Canada or Venezuela or the US, there are basics of finance and these principles apply throughout the world, but I'm also bringing you in a bonus, which is this experience of doing finance in another country. So you see how I just did that? I reframed it a little bit. Joey, do you want to add anything to that?
You forgot engineering. Here's the other thing. It's not just you just speak another language and that you do fine. And finance is a language unto itself. I mean, I can barely spell debits and credits, right? But the fact that you're an engineer, I am as well. And I speak Spanish too, but not as fluently as you do. So you have all these things going for you. I guarantee you take a poll right now, the people on this call, how many of them speak Spanish, no finance, and engineering? 0. Only you. Right. So you got to step up and share and shout that to the world. These are 3 skills I'm bringing to the table. Right. You got to stand out. Do it. You got nothing to be embarrassed about and nothing to be ashamed of.
No, thank you. At the beginning, I thought that was really, something that differentiates me. But I don't know why it hasn't, been considered like that, because that was really a nice experience I had, the combination engineering and finance. And I had a nice career. I'm very proud of that. But here, sometimes I say, what am I doing wrong? That it's not, getting answers.
One more thing you could do, Burnley, and then I'm going to move on to some other speakers here, is connect with other people that are in the finance or engineering industry in the US who were originally from Venezuela. Like you can search for that on LinkedIn. You can look for colleges and universities that are based in Venezuela and the people are currently in the US. You can use filters to find these people. Try to find other people that are similar to you in terms of your background, build up your community, your referral base for people who share some of those similarities. What do you think about that?
Yeah, wonderful. I've done that, but it's a little bit shy because, we are shy to contact someone that we don't know, but I'm overcoming that, that feeling.
Well, we appreciate you being on and being so brave to raise your hand here. Joey, Annette, Linda, do any of you want to add anything to Bernelli before we move on?
I'd like to do one quick thing. I think you're missing an opportunity, Bernelli, I apologize. In your about section, people don't read paragraphs. And so you've got a lot of good information there, but it's hard for people to read and find. If they're not attracted by what's in those first 4 lines, they probably won't click see more to read all the rest of that great stuff. That about section is also your opportunity to make yourself different from everybody else. So talking about bringing in that experience from other countries is a great place to put that in that about section. It makes you stand out. It makes me want to talk to you. And that's really what that about section is all about.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda. And Nat, did you want add anything to that?
I just like to jump on the bandwagon because, one of the things that is so important, if you have lived and worked in another culture, it really just ups your understanding of people. And there are so many companies where, you are working and cross-functional teams, people of different cultures, that can be really, really a bonus for you. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. That's a really great point. Taking what makes you unique and different and making it a strength. I think that's a really important thing to think about. So thank you all so much. Great advice there. All right, we got about 10 minutes to go. I saw that Wayne had his hand raised a little while ago, and then I think Zoom pulls it down eventually. But Wayne, are you able to unmute yourself? And did you have something to share, or what can we help with you today?
Hey, Brenda, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you perfect. Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of things. As promised, I said I would join the call, and here I am live in the Memorex. I know we were pressed for time, but I want to give some advice to Brunelli, and I think David was also new, and anybody else that's on this call that's new. I went through the same thing where I was trying to get my LinkedIn profile reviewed in a matter of 5-10 minutes. It's really challenging and difficult. I'm not, for the record, I'm not one of the VIP coaches. I'm just individual also in TAHR looking for my next career transition. But one thing I did this week with Brenda, which was invaluable, I scheduled a one-on-one coaching with her, which literally gave me a 1-hour dedication to go over my profile. And trust me, there's a lot of things that you look at your LinkedIn profile and not see. So it always helps to have a second pair of eyes. So I definitely encourage, Brunelli, David, anybody else that's new on this call that has not gone through that session, that has questions about your LinkedIn profile from A to Z, to schedule a call with her. Because once again, my only regret is I didn't do this months ago when I went through my my riff with my previous company. But better late than never. But once again, I'm pretty confident if you schedule that with her, you're going to find out a lot of things about your profile you had no idea about. So if I can give you some encouragement, instead of trying to flush out all your answers on this call, which is impossible, schedule that one-on-one. And also, from a standpoint of being in a safer space, obviously it's just you and her. So you can ask anything you want to and not feel, some kind of way. So it's a very, very safe space. And she's very ethical, very trustworthy. So whatever you share with her stays with her. It's kind of like Vegas. So
I usually say I'm like a doctor or a lawyer, patient confidentiality. But I'm going to start saying it's like Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. And Wayne, I know you come from a talent acquisition background, meaning you've been a recruiter for companies and you're currently looking for your next recruiting role. Is that correct?
Yes, that's absolutely accurate. Mm-hmm.
So when I described earlier, let me just ask you this, because you probably had access to LinkedIn Recruiter in your previous corporate roles. Would the open to work be in a different bucket? Am I explaining that correctly? Or how did that feature work?
It's interesting because it's a drop down. So as you're using LinkedIn Recruiter, which is something we have to pay for, you have opportunity. And think of it like this: you have passive applicants and then you have active applicants. We as recruiters, because we're, and Joey, you probably agree to this, we're salespeople, right? Master as recruiters. But the reality is you want to go after the low-hanging fruit. And the low-hanging fruit are people that are very active, that are looking for better opportunities versus the passive ones that you have to maybe cold call or kind of put a couple of carrots in front of them. So you're absolutely right. With LinkedIn Recruiter, you have that option to look at folks that are open to speaking, or ones that are more passive that might or might not be interested. So that's accurate.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Wayne. And I did on the call, and at the end, he was like, this has been such an amazing thing. And I'm not like, I'm an opportunistic marketer. If I get a client that's like jumping up and down about working with me, I'm like, could you do me a favor? Could you come on the Friday call and just tell people what you just said? Because and for that matter, I mean, others who are on the call, we've got a great all-star lineup. If you've done business with any of those people, go into chat and say, hey, Linda is amazing because, or I've worked with Annette and you should hire her, or I read Joey's book and I put down my paintbrush and I'm, in my jobs, like whatever it is, like give us those testimonials because it does help to support the All-Stars coming out here, week after week, month after month. We're moving to monthly now. So I'm going to say month after month, but I'm not shy about asking for testimonials. And even in Wayne's case, I kind of look at him and like, how could Wayne help us? Well, he's used Recruiter on LinkedIn. And Wayne, if you continue to come to these calls and we get questions about how can I get more recruiters to come and look at my profile, don't be shy about raising your hand and saying, hey, I've been a recruiter. These are the things that we're looking for. Or if you're seeing things on their profiles, Wayne, feel free to say, yeah, it would be helpful if you had this filled out a little bit. Or if you see things that we are not, because you're looking through things from the eye of an experienced recruiter, feel free to jump in, Wayne. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. And just one quick tip that somebody mentioned earlier.
Mhm.
You know, I'm not trying to toot my horn, but I was one of those recruiters that I didn't mind getting a lot of in-mails or messages, because the reality is you're making my job easier, right? So just be intentional though. Like if you see an opening at a particular company and you're able to track down who that recruiter is, make sure you send them, don't send them the Bible or a whole big life story, but maybe 2 or 3 really quick hits, I call them, sentences on why you're a fit and why your background dovetails the position. Because trust me, you're helping me out. You're coming to me, you're knocking on my door and saying, "Hey, I'm your next hire." I'm like, "Oh, great! I don't have to do as much hunting." So just be intentional, be specific. Make sure you hit all the required skills. The preferred are what we call icing on the cake, or it's like a cherry, right? So it's always nice to have the preferred, but the reality is there's no such thing as a unicorn candidate where you're going to match everything. But make sure you check all the boxes for the required skill sets, and don't be shy. The worst they can do is not respond. But what's wrong with that? Okay, so if you're worried about sending the recruiter an email or just a chance to connect, just don't send them, "Hey, let's connect," and that's it. Send them a purpose and reason for connecting, because God knows when I was a recruiter in recruiting, I got connections from all over the world, and people just say, "Let's connect." I'm thinking, what is this, Facebook? Like, why are we connecting? So anyway.
All right, appreciate that. All right, we're getting a little bit of background noise. I'm just going to do a quick mute all because I'm not sure who it is. I'm sorry. But I'll just remind you, if you're not talking right now, just keep yourself muted if you don't mind. I'll just do a mute all real quick. I'm sorry if I'm muting you accidentally. There was another woman that I had a call with this week who has a recruiting background, and we had a conversation, and I think she's starting a coaching business, career strategy coaching. Are you on the call? Because I said, let's talk about you on the call, because I'm sure there's people who might be interested in your services. If that is you, please raise your hand. I don't remember her name right now. I'm going to try to find it in my calendar, but if I can't find you, I would love for you to identify yourself, because I think I said, come on the Friday call, because we've had a lot of job seekers that could benefit from your expertise. And I'm not shy about helping people to promote their business, especially if they're just getting started. I'm one of a pay it forward mentality. I know when I got started, I reached out to a lot of people for discovery calls and for asking help and getting things ramped up, and they helped me. And now I'm getting really busy where I'm not able to do that all the time, but I try to provide referrals and references where I can. So I like to, as I'm reaching a hand forward to pull myself through up into my career, I like to reach a hand back to help others as well. So if that is you, if we talked this week, if you're ramping up your career coaching business, please don't be shy, raise your hand. And I want to give you the floor to introduce yourself and tell people what you're doing. All right. Esther, you have your hand raised. I don't think it was you, but Esther, how can we help you today? Are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm doing well. And this is wonderful. This is my first time on. And thank you for accepting me into into this forum. So the question I have is my LinkedIn profile. I'm working on it. I've gotten some feedback on my profile, and particularly the background, which I'm working on, hopefully by this weekend, to get that corrected. But the question I have is, I've been in transition for a few months, for about 8 months now. But I've been reluctant to, change from, my profile from my old job to state that.
I'm going to pull up your profile. I'm sorry to jump in, but what's your last name? I want to pull up your profile as you're describing this for us.
Okay, I was going to paste it. Can you see?
Did you just put it into chat?
I just did.
Okay, grab this from here. Whoops. And just so you know, when you paste it into chat, try if you can put the full address with the HTTPS. That way it'll be clickable.
Okay. All right.
Let's see if that worked for us. Okay, so you said you're a little reluctant to. Did you put an end date for your employer yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
I've been reluctant to do it because I'm afraid that if I do that, then that's going to date how long I've been
Well,
in
let me give you this advice. First and foremost, LinkedIn is a marketing tool. It is not a legally binding document. Okay, so I'm going to say that first. LinkedIn is a marketing tool, not a legally binding document. Now, if you fill out a job application and that's a job application is a legally binding document. If they say, when was your start and end date, you have to disclose to them when you left your last employer. On LinkedIn, you do not need to change an end date. And I even tell people, if you are a job seeker in career transition, don't put an end date on your last employer yet. Because if you do, and you do not have a current employer in your experience section, you'll actually get penalized and you won't come up in as many search results.
Yes.
So when you are interviewing and someone says, I see that you're working at XYZ company, you say, no, I actually didn't put an end date because I've learned that there's a search penalty that exists if you don't have a current employer. So I'm waiting to get my next job to put an end date on it. Alternatively, if you feel like just from a peace of mind perspective, you want to put an end date just so you can kind of move on from that, put an end date, but then add in something in your experience section. Maybe you're a member of Toastmasters International. I'm just making that up, or another professional networking group. Maybe you volunteer for the Detroit Zoo, and Lisa Vitale has, she used that on her profile for a while. Maybe you serve on the board for a nonprofit. Or alternatively, you can put one of the in career transition company pages on LinkedIn. I'm going to ask Julie if she could drop the link into chat so you can see that. So you can just put your job title and then the employer name. You choose one of those in career transition company pages, just so you have something in there so that you don't come up, or that you do come up in more searches on LinkedIn.
Right.
So that's a little bit of a workaround. Does that help you with that issue, Esther?
Right, it did. Actually, I'm going to stay with the first option, which is don't end date.
Yeah.
Just leave it, because I have it changed on my resume.
Mhm.
I just don't have it, on LinkedIn.
Yeah, perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so you need to get a header image. You know that. You can go into LinkedIn like right now, and if you click in your header image in the upper left-hand corner, and you scroll down, there's actually a LinkedIn header image library with just some generic looking images that you can use as a placeholder until you create something. I usually tell people to almost imagine like this is a poster board that you're holding up, and you wouldn't do this, but if you were to be standing on a street corner and hiring managers and recruiters are driving by, what do you want them to see on that poster board? Some people use a city skyline, maybe of the Atlanta downtown area, so they know geographically you're in the area. Other people might use some type of a stock photo with their targeted job title on it, so it's very clear like what you are looking for. Other people might use a stock photo that's a nod to the area of expertise or the industry that you work in. So maybe pictures of technology or pictures of a server or something like that. So just think about using that a little bit more intentionally for your search in there. Does that help you, Esther?
Yes. Actually, my target is to have this done by this weekend.
Wonderful. Well, we'll look for you on next, well, we're not meeting again weekly, we're meeting monthly, but next month's call, we'll hope you come back, and we look forward to seeing your updated header and share with us a success, and we'll pull you up on screen and we'll take a look at your profile again. How does that sound?
Super. Yeah, sounds good. Thank
All
you.
right, wonderful. We are getting a little bit over time, and I want to just briefly mention, we'll go to Sandra before we wrap up too. So I just want to briefly mention before we end the call, I want to talk about an event. Let's address Sandra first, because I think I saw your hand up and it went down and then it came back up again. So Sandra, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Brenda. Thank you for asking. I have a very quick comment and recommendation to connect. Everyone should start connecting with each other. And I ended up connecting with someone here in the job seeker group, and we are going to be role playing our HR questions and skill stories. And just to get that flow, so that when we're being asked a question about our skills or tell me about yourself, the standard type of HR questions, that it just automatically rolls off our tongue, and that there's zero hesitation, and we can practice and know ourselves and our stories and be confident in our skills. So that's just a quick little comment. Connect with someone, arrange a weekly or whatever meeting, however it works in your schedules, and just role play and practice. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Sandra. Appreciate the reminder. Good one. Joey, you want to add something?
Yeah, definitely. She hit the nail on the head. It just, You got to practice this stuff. You can't wing it. If you wing it, you're going to get your wings clipped. Practice, practice, practice. So when you're in the actual ceremony and session, you sound like an expert, and answers just flow off your tongue. So good for you, Sandra. Excellent.
All right. Thank you so much, Joey. Okay. I want to just wrap up by mentioning to all of you, I've got an event coming up. I'm actually calling it a non-event. It was an idea I had. I have a lot of people in my community that are up and coming speakers, and I know a lot of them don't have photos or videos to market themselves. So I'm like, I could actually organize something like this, and I'm calling it a non-event because it's not really a conference or an event. It's really an opportunity for speakers to do like a demo talk. And then while they're doing so, we're going to be taking photos and videos from our phones. Myself, Julia, and I might have one or two other people helping me, but we're going to be taking photos and videos throughout the day. And then at the end of the day, we're going to put all of those on a Google Drive, and the speakers have something that they can use. Now, during their talks, and their talk is only going to be like 15 minutes, I'm going to stop them. If they're using a screen, I might say, okay, do that again, but gesture at the screen. And then I'm going to take pictures from both sides of the room. So you can't do this in a normal event. You can't like stop the speaker and say, could you do that again so I can get a better picture? Like you can't do that in a normal thing. So I'm doing this at the non-event. And then, I might have, if they're saying, we want to raise the hand and, raise your hand if you do this. And then I'm going to have videos of everyone in the audience raising their hand or things like that. And this can be used for their speaker sizzle reel or their demo video, things like that. Right. So we're going to have, right now I've got 6 speakers that are scheduled, and I need to get people in the audience now. So now what I'm doing is I'm opening it up for attendees to come and attend for free. If you are interested, you need to register through my website, mellermarketing.com/non-event. This is an in-person event in Metro Detroit. I would love to meet you in person. If you're in Metro Detroit, come on out. It will be a fun day. I'm going to be providing light refreshments. We'll do like coffee and bagels and granola bars in the morning. At lunch, I'm going to have Jimmy John's catered in. So you can come on out, get some free food, get the chance to meet me in person. All we need you to do is to sit into the audience, and I'm hoping to have maybe 10 or 20 people in the audience so we can have backs of heads in the photos and hands raising in the videos when we need them. So you can help me and you can help our speakers by coming out. I'm only going to be opening this up to 20 people to attend for free. It is in Metro Detroit. So if you're interested, visit that website, mellermarketing.com/non-event. And I'll be sending out an email today as well. If you know of anyone in Metro Detroit who wants to come on out, support the event, see what it's all about, we'd love to have you coming out for that. All right. With all of that said, I want to thank all of you for being on the call here today, whether you're in career transition or if you've been one of the amazing people who've been in my all-star lineup to help with our Q&A. I want to thank you so much for being on the call. I want to remind you, for those of you that are in career transition, this time in your life is temporary. You might feel like it's forever, especially if you've been job seeking for a long time, but it is temporary. You're on a hiatus, my friend. Sometimes I tell the story of you're the Oreo cookie right now, and stay with me on this. You're in career transition. So think about an Oreo cookie. You got the 2 cookies, and then you got the frosting in the middle. The one side of the cookie is the job that you used to hold that you're no longer in. The other side of the cookie is the job that you're going to get to, because you're going to be back to work someday. You're not going to be here forever. And in the middle is where you are right now. You're the frosting right now. So you're in the cookie frosting part of life right now. You are only in career transition. You are in between successes. And I want you to remember that. While you are, I want you to know that you are not alone. That's part of the reason I created these calls. Before you leave here today, if you're on the Zoom, make sure that you download the chat. Go to the chat right now. Click on the 3 dots at the bottom, click on Save Chat, and you can download it and you can connect with people. When you connect with people, you are helping yourself and others to get a bigger slice of the LinkedIn pie. Did you know that? Somebody just said, hey, you have no pie analogy? I got a pie analogy for you. I'll put a pie analogy on the spot. If you connect with other people and you engage with other people on LinkedIn by commenting on their posts, when you see a job seeker in career transition announcing that they need help, add a comment to the post. Every time you do so, you're helping to build up social media karma. You're helping to get their post read by more and more people. You're pushing it out to your homepage feed, which in turn could be exposing that post to somebody who's looking to hire. So you could help to make that job seeker connection. That reminds me of the lobsters in friend when I do that gesture right there. But at any rate, I want you to support each other and to know that you are not alone in on this process. So thank you, my friends, for joining us here. It's been a delight seeing all of you. And I'll remind you, this will be converted to a podcast. Watch your email for more details on when the show will be public. And in the meantime, you can also go onto YouTube and watch the playback. So I want to say farewell and thank you to all of you, to Annette, Joey, Kenneth, Al, Alina, Andrew, Angela, Bernelli, Carrie, Christine, Louis, Daniel, David B, Dean, Esther, Julia, Gloria, Joanna, another Julia, Laura O, Laura R, Linda, Mary, Nicole, Rob, Sandra, Santina, Scott B, Scott V, Shelly, Simeon, nice to see you again, my friend. What was that little, oh, I thought somebody held up a sign. It was Scott's coffee mug. He just went up. I was like, I saw it in the background. Sophie, Tara, TJ, Vic the Pie Man, Wayne, Wendy, and Peter. Remember, my friends, this time in your life is a temporary period. You are experience rich. You will get back to work and find a job. And in the meantime, we are here for all of you. My name is Brenda Meller. I help business professionals and job seekers get a bigger slice of the LinkedIn pie. If you want to connect with me, visit my profile on LinkedIn and do click on the more button and you'll see the option to personalize an invite and connect. All right, I'm going to go ahead and